Hello, everyone. Welcome to 360 Coaching with Premier Teaching and Learning. Today, I have me a special guest, LaTonya Davis. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. LaTonya is amazing. Let me just say that. You meet really great educators who you reach out to, and you realize we have some people in common. That is really what's up. LaTonya Davis, she is exceptional when it comes to working with teachers in the classroom, from being an administrative principal, opening in schools. She has so much to give. So I'm really I'm really grateful that I could bring her to you guys because she just has a wealth of knowledge. So welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me here. I am really excited to be able to share instructional coaching tips that can help anyone, whether you're training a teacher or a principal.
So before we get into your amazing presentation, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm LaTonya Davis. I have some information on the side. I'm a lawyer. I'm an autism parent advocate. I have served as a virtual coach, highly effective teacher, assistant principal. I've worked with Tier 1 schools, including KIPP schools. And over the years, I have just really enjoyed motivating kids and motivating youth. And I've earned some awards that I really love, which are one is called the Civic Educator of the Year Award, and the other is the Outstanding Woman in Law Award. And something that is important for people to know is that I do support Black Lives Matter. In particular, I am a graduate of Jack Yates High School, the same high school that George Floyd was an alum. And so I'm a representation of what you can do from the hood.
That is amazing. Drop the mic, right? And so I constantly say, yes, of course. What do you mean? Of course, Black Lives Matter. I live that. I breathe in everything I do. So yes, I'm right on, spot on with you.
Yes.
So go ahead and tell us what you have for us today.
Awesome. I'm going to share with you 10 steps to instructional coaching that I've used over the years, and I wanted to share just quickly some of the results I've had as results of the 14 years I've been in education. One, I've had principals to master their action steps. I've had teachers, over 50 to master action steps as a result of instruction and also coaching. 6th to 8th graders scored 3s and 4s on the ELA PARCC exam, which is one of the toughest exams in the U.S. We've had middle schoolers to move from 31% reading proficiency to 61% in reading. Math kids grew from unsatisfactory to mastery. And 4th graders passed the Reading Star test in Texas. And this is just some of the work I've done over the years. So I wanted to share that with you first. So you can see that the tools I'm talking about actually can support teachers. All right.
Pretty impressive.
So I'm excited. So the first thing I want to talk about is step one, how you have to check in. Most schools are very familiar with the trust factor, and I've trained schools also in the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to build trust with your teachers. The purpose of this is really to be able to build strong and trusting relationships by asking questions that helps you get to know them better. We all know when you know someone and you have a relationship with them, it's easier to work with them. So I just gave just 2 tools that I've used in my practice. One is just a 2,000 would you rather questions. And another is a book called the 3,000 questions that you can ask about me. They have really great questions in here. They kind of get the conversation started. But the first thing as a coach is you never want to go into a meeting straight with the data. You want to do a check-in to make sure that your teacher or your principal are ready to talk with you about something that may be going on with them, or also just to kind of say, hey, how was your weekend? But it's important because it builds the trust every single meeting so that you can help move those results.
No, I agree. And many times as coaches, when we train our coaches, they're like, well, let me go in and take notes because I want to be able to remember what they said. But I said, no, just intently listen, because you want to make sure you lower the affective filter and be able to support your teachers, and you want to build that trust. And one way is to ask questions without writing down things. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. You got it. Step 2, I call it the praise, data, and debrief. It's important to use your data that speaks. Most of us in education have used the word glows and grows. I like to use praise and push. And the purpose of this is to present 3 aligned data points that speak to the instructional practice that the teacher should keep doing. A lot of us go into coaching sessions and we talk about the great things teachers are doing, but it's not aligned. And so when you have aligned data points, it allows you to really push the next action step. So here's an example of what those 3 to 5 could sound like. 100% of students stayed in their seats. 25 out of 26 students met the voice level. 92% of students completed the assignment. Notice that all of these relate to the MVP, giving precise directions, the movement, the value, and participation. This is important because we want to make sure that teachers have a chance to hear those great GLOW data. And you always want to ask that question, how does hearing this data feel to you?
No, I agree. And I really, what really stuck out is the fact that you had numbers, and the numbers align with, you know, because many teachers, many principals and leaders give vague supports. And when you have the numbers, that really allows me to say, oh, well, maybe I, as a teacher, can work with Johnny a little more because he was the other one that I have to constantly refocus. So it really engages the teacher with a number account versus a vague response. So yes, I love it.
Yes, very much so. And you know, along with that is step 3. Now you want to give your push data and your debrief. So the purpose of this, again, is to present 3 aligned data points that speak to instructional practice that the teacher needs to improve. And again, you have either a percentage or a number of students. Again, notice that this data isn't focusing on the teacher, it's focusing on the students, because ultimately we're going to use our aligned action steps to drive teacher instruction. So for example, this says 33% of the students did not underline the title. 5 out of 23 students annotated only paragraph 2. 60% of the students highlighted the entire passage. This all relates to annotation. And so notice again, every action step is aligned to that. I can say when I walk into classrooms, I have about 30 different action steps that are automatically in my head that I'm looking through, because I did these things as a teacher and I grew and I learned from it, and that's how I became highly effective. And that's why I know these principles and these practices actually do work.
No, and I totally agree, because I remember watching one of your sessions. By the way, she does live video tutorials and they are amazing. And right when she walks in, before even sitting down, she can identify like 6 to 7 different things that the teacher could work on, and then the data points that she needs to pull for each, you know, example to give feedback to teachers. So yes, I already knew when I want to invite you, because you are amazing at this.
I love it. And you know what's interesting is one thing we talk about too, a quick fixes. You have to also know within your data what's a quick fix or a quick hit you can give a teacher that doesn't require additional steps. A part of this is recognizing the skill-will matrix. Is your teacher a teacher that's high will or low skill, high skill, low will? And then if the teacher is a teacher that is high will, high skill, or high will, low skill, you know that you can sort of push them in this area. So it really depends on the kind of teacher you have in terms of what you want to be able to do. All right, step 4. I love step 4 because you see I have our success over here, the gift. And so it is the elements for success. In law school, we learned about the elements of success for elements of a crime, elements of whatever type of tort, whatever it might be that we have. So I kind of aligned this to what we want to have in the field of education. The purpose is to share the elements for success to meet the high leverage action step. So for instance, we'll take the very same one we had before, the MVP. When you give precise directions, you are to 1, state the movement, 2, give the voice level, and 3, give what to do directions. So your M, your V, your P, your participation. And then you have the teacher write it down. First, you want to make sure the teachers know what is the criteria. What are the elements that I need to be able to meet for this, and what does it look like? And you want to give 1 to 3 verb-driven action steps so that they really understand exactly what you want them to do. Because ultimately, you as a coach, you're going to model it.
Yes, I totally, this is amazing, because the voice level, right? We really don't take that in consideration sometimes when it comes to giving teachers feedback, and the what to do and modeling it is one thing, but to kind of role play it out with the teacher, and sometimes you reverse roles, that has been worked wonders for supporting teacher achievement.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now they have an opportunity to take a look at the elements of success. So we move on to step 5. We want to model the action step. So I have show me that. So this purpose is to demonstrate the elements, and you want to be able to have the teacher or principal give you feedback as the coach on whether or not you met the elements of the action step. What's interesting is that most of us have used videos like Teaching Channel or YouTube, which is great. I prefer to do it live. One, because it shows that I'm vulnerable to the teacher and lets them know that I actually do know what I'm talking about as a coach. So I would say directly, as I model the action step, I want you to watch to see if I met each element. And that teacher or principal will give me the feedback and say, yes, you met this, Ms. Davis, yes, you met that, or no, you did not meet that. I'm pretty good. So I met them all. But
Yeah.
there are times when, they might have a situation where it's like, oh, I forgot. I was like, oh, you know what? You're right. And I would actually redo that step again because I want them to know the same thing I'm asking you to do is what I want you to do.
No, yeah. And then some principals struggle with this area because some principals don't feel comfortable teaching, right, the teacher these practices and best practices. So, I will say if you are a principal and you are that principal, you need to step your game up. Now's the time to practice, and it's okay to fail fast and get better, right?
Absolutely. Get better faster. We know that. I think that I can attribute this a lot to my time at Paul Public Charter School, new leaders, and also working with KIPP. Those schools really did help build me around what I need to be able to do to support teachers. And I think the fact that I'm just like already a lawyer, I love learning. I love pushing myself. So if you are a principal, you are spot on. Your teachers are going to trust you more when you put yourself out there to do the work you're asking them to do.
Yeah, and then just to, I guess, back up at the beginning of the year for you and the principal to get on the same page. Um, Many times we assume that the principal and the coach are on the same page, but you look at the same lesson and your lenses are different. So I encourage you to do either a video with you and your coach giving feedback to the teacher and then go in the classroom just so you guys can be on the same page, because I've been in situations where the principal says one thing and then the coach is saying another thing, and that's really not good for a school.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that also goes back to, I'm going to go back here. That also goes back to making sure that you really are aligned in terms of what the ultimate goal is for students. So I always ask three questions. What does the data say? Who does the data speak for? And how do we move the data to 100%? I start every meeting with that. I start every PD with that. I start every session, whether it's department, because I've also coached every content you can name. So at the end of the day, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's PE, whether it's reading, math, whatever grade level, I've also, led in elementary as well as middle school, it's the same thing. So if we can all agree that this is what we're ultimately trying to do to meet those goals, then we know that sometimes we have to pull ourselves back for the benefit of children.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So now that we've had a chance to take a look at what the criteria or the element of success should look like, and we have the action step, we want to name the gap. And I don't mean me as the coach, I want the teacher or the principal to do it. So at this point, the purpose is to identify the gap between the teacher or principal's instructional practice and the model, the exemplar that I just gave. So you can ask directly, what is the gap between my model and your practice? You want to be very clear and very succinct. This is not something to beat around the bush about, because we don't have time when it comes to Black and brown kids in particular learning in K-12. So this is the question that you want to ask. And you want to make sure that they can name it, because if they don't, you want to make sure that you name it for them. Okay, so the gap was this element of success was not met. You forgot to, or you missed an opportunity to say the voice level. So that way they actually know what it was. And it helps them in building their own efficacy and confidence in practice.
No, and then even over time, right? Over time, we want them to be able to identify their areas and their gaps.
Yes.
But so this is a struggle at the beginning, especially for teachers to actually recognize it and mark it and to work to improve it. And for us as coaches to release that scaffold and say, I really admire that you were able to recognize that. Now what do we have to do to make change and to build on that?
1000% correct. Yes, because even when you talk about the data, the glows and the grows, I always let the teacher go first. You share with me what you thought versus what I'm having. Today, I'm just sharing with you what the coach agenda looks like, but you want to hear what they have to say. And you have to be very skilled and adept and use that adaptive skill set to be able to figure out a way to turn that around so they can come into the same mindset you have around what the data needs to look like.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then we have step 7. We now want to give some time to plan the practice. And I put this on the side so you can really understand there are so many different ways to do this. But if we don't give teachers or leaders time to plan out the next step, when is it going to happen? Because everyone has so many things to do. So I literally have a timer, and I will give between 3 to 5 minutes to plan and script out the next action step. And the action step that we talked about today is MVP. So I'm going to look for, let's say, MVP in tomorrow's lesson. This is what we're looking for. So find the part of the lesson where you're going to give precise directions. It could be the warm-up to do now, the guided practice, the independent practice, the exit, whatever that may be. And then we want to give them time to do it. When we give them time to think on their own and plan, we're building the muscle memory that they need. The more opportunities we give to build that efficacy and that confidence, the less we have to do as administrators to support and help our team, because they're going to get it, they're going to know it before we do.
So in this area, do you ask them to bring your next week's lesson plan, or they already know? How does that work?
Well, my team already knows. You already bring your lesson plan. You have materials ready to rock and roll. And not only that, I have the lesson plan as well. And I've already have the exemplar. And my exemplar is where I've already outlined where all the MVPs should go, where the different parts are that I've already seen. The other piece that I bring to practice is I observe teachers through instructional videos. And so we will actually have the video there together, and I will play it with the teacher and say, hey, so that way you recognize that Ms. Davis is not being biased in terms of what I see. I want you to name what you see here in this video as well. And the goal is every single week for our teachers to get better and better and better. And they really appreciated this. And they also appreciated the time to actually practice, to plan their practice with me prior to delivery. Okay, so I can move on to step 8. All right, so it might come up through here. So step 8, I love the guy over here who's practicing. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But this is the goal, is to practice, give feedback, and debrief on the elements for success. So if you notice here, my agenda is usually about 10 pages long, because I actually script out everything that I want to say, everything I want teacher to do. And so in here, we're looking at practicing the action step at least 6 times, giving feedback on the elements for success. Why? To build muscle memory. So here I have an example of what round 1 could look like, and I would have 6 different charts. I've gone up to 10 rounds of practice in a time frame. I've seen it done 62 times, which I've never done, which is amazing. But I have the element for success, which is no movement, volume, participation. Then I have the feedback. Was it a yes or was it a no? Then I have specific evidence of what I saw the teacher do. So in this case, I might say, excellent job doing that practice. I want to give you feedback on the criteria for success, elements of success. I might say movement. Yes, you had it. You told the students to be seated. Volume, yes, you did it. You told the students volume 2. Participation, no, we didn't meet that element because you missed an opportunity to get clear what to do directions for the assignment. So as we go into round rep 2, I want you to add in participation. And then you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. You can do the feedback portion and practice portion to where you're focusing not only on the specific elements of success, but you can talk about, hey, I know little Tanya in your classroom. We know she tends to get up a lot. Let's add in, some behavior concerns that might come up. I've had that as a part of my coaching to say, okay, now you have this. So what do you do in that case? And once it's all said and done, you want to ask your teacher or your principal, how did that feel? How did it feel to you doing the practice? And I can guarantee you every single time that an adult has practiced, they always say, oh my God, that felt really good. It made me feel a lot better about what I'm going to do. It was different than me just telling you what to do and then you thinking about what do I need to do when I go in, versus getting feedback and getting really specific on what I am looking for to make sure that that works.
Yeah, practice perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say one of the areas of growth, I think, for leaders would be to make sure you add that in, because that does not always happen, to practice.
That's true.
All right. Yes, so step 9. So stamp the what and the why. This purpose is to state the action step, give the rationale for how it helps academic achievement, and set a new mastery goal. So these questions are what I'm going to ask the teacher. So notice the coach is not doing the talking. It's what is the action step? They got to tell me specifically what are the elements of success? How does this action step help us move towards academic achievement? And then something that I began to do in the last 2 years is asking the question, what is our new mastery goal for students and teachers? So based upon observation, if I found that, let's say, 40% of the students were, off task, our goal is to move them to being at a higher task. So this might say, if you give MVP directions, notice I have the action step here, you will move from 60% on task to 85% on task throughout the class. You got to be very specific. So every week, you're moving towards adding more of a data point so they know what we're targeting. So that way it's very clear for them what to do. And you work on this together collaboratively. So, me, I'm always aiming for 100%. But the teacher might say, well, Ms. Davis, can we think about moving from 60% to 70% next week? Awesome, great. and then we'll take it from there. Next week, we're going to go from 70% to 80%. So again, your goal is to try to push for that specific action step until the teacher nails it. You don't move to new action steps until they nail it, because otherwise it's just going back. You'll see this play out again in the spring when things crop up and things aren't really solid.
No, and so many times a lot of coaches, I know they give teachers too many options and too many steps. And for you, I like where you say, just one action plan, we're working on that until we master it, and then we can move on. And this is a lot of tracking of data. So what does your tracking device look like? Is it like a Google form, or is it like a book that has every teacher with their goals and mastery data?
Yeah, I'm old school and new school. I have both. I have my binder that I use, and I keep a track of all my teachers. I have a Google folder for every single teacher's name and what they're working on. We have our agendas, which are actually shared with both of us. And then I also use Google Sheets to track all of my teachers and what their specific goal is and what their action step is. Now, what's great about this is that for a teacher that might have high skill, high will, I might be able to give them 2 action steps a week. But for a brand new teacher, I've done a TFA teacher, I want you to make sure that you stay in the profession. So I want to make sure that you also have, you want to see the success every single week. And so that's the goal, is to keep moving forward. And, again, as a result of this, lots of teachers, over 50, have mastered action steps that I've given them. I was a different kind of teacher, I will say that. And if there are people out there like me, I am a super, super high achiever. I was like, I'm going to record my own self. I'm going to give my own self an action step. I'm going to ask for, my principal to come in to see me so that I can do the things I need to do. People don't do that. But at the end of the day, I want to see my students win. And when my students win, I know that I win as well. And my students, some of them are now in college now. So I'm really excited about what I've been able to learn and develop and grow in coaching.
I went into a coaching session where the coach was actually supporting the teachers, and one thing she had them do, which kind of goes along, so she did her professional development, which talked about action steps, and then she had them during the week record a piece of their lesson and then bring it, and within small groups, they were able to have discussion about it. And it was basically what you're saying here. How will you move the needle? What are your action steps, and how will you support the student goal? So I really love this stamp and weight and why. I love this.
Oh, yes. We did all of those. I would even push people to bring it to the department meetings. I would show videos of teachers to each other in a group setting. We would talk about, this is our big action step for the week. Let's talk about what this teacher did very well. So therefore, not only are you getting feedback from your coach, but you're getting feedback from your peers as well, and you get highlighted for the things that you do. So it's a great feeling to see people recognize and they can support and help each other.
Yeah, then you got to be brave. I mean, because
you're. Yeah. It's very nervous. I remember walking into some classrooms where teachers had never been recorded before, and they were just like extremely nervous about it. And I was a little caught off guard because I was like, oh, this is the only way I've been trained. I've always done this. That was done to me, and so this is what we do. And so I had to really build up the confidence level around it in like bite-sized pieces. But ultimately, this teacher, I remember that teacher this year, she took the teachers who were at 40% proficient at the end of the year. Those kids passed their STAR test at the end of the year. So you can't tell me that coaching is not work. It does. Instructional coaching one-on-one is really a huge, huge, huge win for all school districts, no matter whether you're public, charter, what have you. It really does help and work if you really put the thought behind it and plan out what you're planning to do for your teachers.
I agree.
All right, so I have step 10, final step, giving feedback, next steps, and gratitude. So again, our purpose is to get feedback for our coaching and to set up the next meeting and to give thanks. So the script could be like, I'd like feedback. What worked well in my coaching session? It would have been even better if I did what? This is the time to give me feedback and I'm going to receive it. So coaches, you're writing down exactly what your teachers are saying, or you're typing it down. You're not sitting there just listening. You actually are going to do it because it's a serious commitment you're making to that teacher. And then you're going to plan out what's the next day and time we can meet again. For those that do video like I did, I would actually set up what's the next time you're going to send me the video tape. So my principals would send me their videos every week, and I would watch their coaching videos of teachers and be ready and prepared to present for them as well. And then number 3, Tatenda, that's the word that means thank you. I went to Zimbabwe, Africa in my second year of law school, and I learned a few words, and that's one of them. But you want to give them thanks for their time, thanks for what they're doing. Typically in sessions, you're always probably going to hear about a struggle they might have with a particular kid, or you may have even noticed some things that might be happening with really trying to like move the data and move the needle and build those cultures up in classrooms. And so you want to make sure you're thanking them for the effort that they are making to make those things great. And it also is good to kind of share something that may have happened the teacher may not know about. So typically I would always talk to kids. Kids love, love Miss Davis, Miss D. So I'm like, what did Miss So-and-so do this week that was really great? Okay. Oh, did you know that, Lopez said you did this week and he really, really liked it. And you should see the faces light up. This is the data that is not a data point per se, but it's anecdotal data that really matters when it comes to keeping our staff on point and also building up their heart and their love for the work of teaching.
I would be excited if you said something great. I love getting feedback from students, but they don't really share it in the way. But coming from an adult telling me that something that I do that's very special between me and a child, and you know about it.
Oh yeah.
I'm glowing, right?
Oh yeah. Kids will tell the principals everything. So we get everything. All the stuff. And that's it. And I would just say for people who are looking at this video, I wanted to share with you something that was said by one of my teachers. She was a first-year TA, first-year teacher in TFA. And at the beginning of the year, we just kind of focused on a lot of things that she had to do. And she taught 7th and 9th grade. And if anyone knows, 7th grade is a very challenging grade to work with because through Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they go through quite a bit. And it's actually the grade level that almost pushed me out of teaching. But I stuck with them. So she just talked about just me as a coach and what I did. And one thing I liked in her feedback, she said she's solutions-oriented, structured, consistent, which is invaluable as a first-year teacher in a high-needs environment. And I was able to push her in being able to be more culturally relevant teacher because she was a Caucasian teacher working with African-American Latino students. And so now she has a wider range of tools in her tool belt. So again, this teacher, first-year TFA, had her students pass the ELA Park exam at the end of the year. So I was so proud of the work that she put into it and so proud of the work we did together. We're still in contact, but this is what coaching can do.
I agree. I totally agree. And like I said, LaTonya Davis, when you meet superstars like her, you just want to gravitate to them because I've met so many best friends, but LaTonya Davis really does a wonderful job and she's phenomenal at what she does. So make sure you reach out to her, you watch her videos and support her because she too is an educational consultant. And like I said, she knows her stuff.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I have connected with you this year. And it's funny, we've never met in person, but I always feel like you just are a kindred spirit and wonderful person, just always so delightful and giving me really good feedback. So I appreciate the work that you're doing because it's amazing and you have quite a number of followers that are listening to what you have to say because it's value added.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.